Welcome to Wood Talk. Now here are three guys who love the smell of shellac in the morning. Marc, Shannon, and Matt.
All right, it's show number 592, and on today's show, we're talking about first aid kits, why no shapers, when is enough, our favorite distractions when we have a creative block, and an alternative for table saw blade height adjustment. All that and more coming up, but first, we want to let you know that Wood Talk is proudly sponsored by Woodcraft. Woodcraft is the leading authority in woodworking, making, and creating. They have the tools, supplies, expertise, and hands-on classes to inspire creativity at every level. Learn more at woodcraft.com.
I went to my local Woodcraft yesterday.
Shannon interrupts me.
Yes, that was my whole intention.
That's what you get.
I was actually expecting more of an awkward pause from Matt, so I didn't have to interrupt, but
That's two.
The first time I'm ready to go,
I know, right?
put a complete stop to it.
I'm not saying anything. Just do your thing. Do your show.
I was giving you the awkward pause. Here.
It's fine.
I
I love it.
Shannon wanted the awkward
Yeah.
pause. I'm trying to deliver on the awkward pause. All right, our show is also sponsored by the generous contributions of people such as yourselves, you beautiful people. If you want to help support this show, you can do so by going to patreon.com/woodtalk and signing up to become a patron of the show. This time we're thanking Ron and Ron Brewer.
Nice.
The two Rons.
What
Thank you,
are the
Rons.
chances we get two and both of them are named Ron?
I don't know.
We're dual.
I'm sure someone could
Really?
tell us the likelihood of that.
Higher than Guido, maybe?
Probably a little bit higher. Dual Rons. Yeah. I'm into it. All right. We got a giveaway still. And I am a little unsure on the date situation for this because I thought we were doing it for last month, but that was like one show. So let's let this giveaway run through October. How's that? And on the next show, we'll announce the winner. So same one as before. If you haven't already entered, go to woodtalkshow.com/giveaway. And it's a Wood River mini turning set, little 5-piece set that Matt can vouch for. He's used it. He has it. He loves it. And you got a chance
Perfect
to win
for my
one.
tiny hands.
Yep, for the little baby hands. And doesn't take much. Just give us your name, your email. It is US only for now. We'll need your address as well so we know where to ship this thing if and when you win. So go check that out at woodtalkshow.com/giveaway. Sound good? Sound fun? Sounds fun to me. All right.
Hey, fun.
Shannon, I just want to let you know it was very disturbing watching you blow kisses earlier. Something about it just gave me there was a high creep factor to it.
Either that or you liked it too much.
That's probably why I'm upset. Yeah,
that's what it is.
I really need to own that. All right.
Just need to admit your feelings for me after all these decades, Mark.
I know.
It's okay.
Finally. Oh,
it's
man.
okay. I love you, man.
Yeah, I love you too. Okay, what's on the bench besides platonic love? I've been getting you got some tools in your holes over there. Video guy, guys got to go look at the YouTube videos to understand.
There's a show title right there. Tools in your holes.
Tools in your holes. Anyway, getting distracted is what's happening over here. I haven't made a ton of progress on the desk because I haven't actually been in the shop. But you know what is one thing that I can bring home to drive my family crazy with? Like a maintenance thing that needs to get done that I can actually do at home? Sharpening. So I decided that I would bring some stones to the house, brought a silicone mat so that I don't mess up our nice new countertops. And here's the problem. I wasn't doing useful sharpening, like taking care of like irons and blades and things like that. I started to go down a rabbit hole of flattening tools. And I've got a bunch of new Wood River things. And I want you guys to tell me how much time I'm wasting. But it was definitely, once I started it, I couldn't stop. So I had like 2 or 3 different tools. I was playing with the little baby, that little apron plane? I think they sent each one of us one of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's so fun. It's so cool. Does it need to be like absolutely dead flat? No, of course it doesn't. Don't be dumb. But I started to see where the problem was. I checked. I put it on a stone.
The problem is you're looking for problems.
Yeah, that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was curious. I'm like,
this tool works just fine.
the way I looked at it,
I'm
like, if it's not dead flat,
Right.
how long can it possibly take to get flat? It's such a tiny little plane, and it'll be fun. If I got it dead flat, I'd be like,
famous last words.
look at my dead flat, tiny little plane. Like, it would have been such a thing I could have been proud of, right? So I start this
Great.
process.
It works exactly the same as it did before I flattened it.
No difference whatsoever, but it's a little shinier now. So I started this process, but what happens when you do that? you immediately show the spots that might just be a little divot or a little tiny small spot. So the funny thing was it had a little circular spot right around the mouth on both sides of the opening that it was a low point. And I could not let it go. And it was so dumb. And I spent hours on this thing flattening it by hand because I was obsessed and I needed to do that. So then once that was done, then I did a shoulder plane. Like,
What?
I can't even explain it. The thing was, I was enjoying the distraction. It was something that you guys know how it goes. If you're lapping something, it is seriously one of the most brainless things you can do. So you could put on like a football game or a podcast.
Don't spend a lot of time lapping things.
Well, maybe
have any
maybe you should
reference to this.
You gotta lap more. Do more lapping, Matt. Not enough laps in your life.
Oh.
So anyway,
if you're spending that much time lapping, use a coarser grit.
Well, the thing is, Lord. I only have what I have. Okay. And I even put some paper when I was at the shop. I put some paper down on the table saw for the ones that were really giving me trouble and then took everything else home. Anyway, point is, don't be like me. Nobody be like me. This is stupid.
I agree.
This is
I agree.
a dumb waste of time.
Did you test the flatness of your table saw before you put the paper down?
No, of course not. Why would I do that? That's insanity.
Oh my. Now you better go back and check that.
So anyway, here's the fun thing. We do have a question coming up a little bit later about like, how do you know when enough is enough across all things in woodworking? But this is definitely one of those that could be part of that topic. So maybe we'll delve in a little bit more later on how important something like that.
I really hope I see you lapping your table saw next, because that would be incredible.
Well, here's what I thought. Here's what I really thought. It's not that far to drive to Matt's. He's probably got a tool that can do this for me.
Well, yeah, my welding table is probably flatter than your table saw. So we'll line the welding table with sandpaper, flip it upside down on your table saw, and we'll run it back and forth with the telehandler.
That's fine.
In and out, scope it in and out.
Yes, you got to use the telehandler.
Yeah, no, that's great. Now the question is, can I just bring the top of the table saw, or do I have to bring the entire table saw?
I would say you probably want the whole thing. Yeah. So if the bolts are tweaking the table,
that's what I'm worried about. It's just like a hand plane. You got to have it under pressure.
Same reason you got to tighten the lever cap when you do a hand plane. Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's get that table saw upside down and get this going. I love this idea.
I mean, this is the whole new service that you could offer, Matt, because there will be a lot of woodworkers who see Mark do that and go, "I got to do that."
Judging from the number of posts I see in the Saw Stop Facebook group about people getting upset about like a 5,000th dip in their table saw, yeah, you probably could make a fortune doing this. Be amazing. Anyway, moral to the story is don't be an idiot like me and don't do that. Matt, what do you got going on?
Oh, I've just been continuing on with my tidying up and cleaning projects. So I've been trying to establish a new spot to stack stuff to dry. I have all of these horse barn shelter things on the property. We have 3 of them, and they're all in various stages of disrepair and possible collapse. So that's fun. I've been working on the one by the house just to make it like not hopefully collapse this winter, and maybe I'll patch the roof because my kid fell through it and put a big hole in it. So there's that.
Are these the ones that everyone was telling you initially to convert into a shop, and you were like, you have no idea how far gone these buildings are, that's not possible?
One of the ones, yeah, okay. Like, yeah, you could have, because there's 3 horse runs on the property, and then there's the horse barn. The horse barn is more what people were referencing when they mentioned that, but some people did suggest the horse runs, which I'm like, they're even smaller and even more foregone than an actual horse barn that just has horse stalls. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, I graded the whole the dirt inside of it, and I set up some bunks in there so I could just set my stacks directly on those bunks and then just stack them to the ceiling. So that'll give me some space that I don't necessarily have to like stick every single log out in the field somewhere and have them all European stacked. I can actually stack things on top of each other without having to worry about rain or whatever. So that's been sort of a side project that I've been kind of tinkering with, because it's kind of like lapping, I think, setting all those bunks, because you're like out there hand grading and hand leveling these bunks to get them all in the same plane by like putting dirt down and tamping it all flat. It's the same elevation.
Yeah.
So I can only do so many. I'm like, this is mindless. Like, I gotta get out of here. So I've been doing that, and I've been kicking around this table base design in the back of my head. I kind of mentioned last time And the kind of thing that I'm wrestling with now, which I think is kind of an interesting one, is the way that it was designed. Again, it was the initial designs from the architects. It's a trestle table, and the foot on the base is only 13 inches wide as they designed it. So it would not be a table that you could just like put on the floor and be like, okay, I can just lean on this and not have it fall over, because it would definitely tip over because it has such a narrow base. So it's designed to be anchored to the floor. So I'm like, okay, the struggle I have is that it's going to be a guild project, and you want to have it be something that people could actually make and do themselves. So like if I was doing it for myself, I had an idea, I could do like a keyhole thing where there's a keyhole plate on the floor and the whole table drops on top of the studs, and you slide it one way a few inches and it's locked into the floor. And you can, unlock it and move it or whatever. But I don't think people really want to make custom keyhole hardware for this table and have to have a table bolted to the floor. So I'm like, okay, well maybe, and I don't necessarily hate that idea, but I also don't like it either for my own use case of having it here. So I'm like, okay, how do I modify this design so that the foot is now like in the general, like 2/3 the width of the tabletop kind of rule for a trestle table base and still have it look good? So I'm playing with that now. And what's really interesting with this is I don't typically do this much design work in CAD. This is the most CAD design work that I've done ever. Like, let me draw this and see how that looks, and like draw this and try that. And like, I have all these different designs that I'm like iterating through, which I've never done before, because normally it's like I have an idea in my head and that's just kind of it.
Yeah.
But because it's like originated from someone else and I'm trying to modify what they had originally intended for the design to be, anyway, I'm spending a lot more time just playing with the design. But I think this is also an interesting point. I think one of the pitfalls of doing that much CAD design work is that you're looking at it constantly from the wrong perspective of how you're going to see that piece of furniture in real life. Because when you're looking at design the base, it's like, you're looking like straight on with the whole base.
You're never going to see it that way.
You're looking down on it, and the tabletop is going to be like concealing part of it from the view most of the time too. So I'm constantly have to remind myself to like, okay, design it in CAD, but then actually like orbit around and look down on it with the tabletop in place to see how it all kind of looks together and hopefully get some kind of perspective view on it before committing to like, I hate this design completely.
Yeah.
Or this thing I came up with.
Sure. Interestingly, go ahead, Shannon.
I created a custom like point of view in SketchUp, because I'm still using SketchUp, but it's just a keystroke that moves the camera back to like eye height and kind of off to an angle. It's just a Command 7 on my keyboard, and it pulls back to that because I constantly am falling into that, and I'm like obsessing over this little detail, and then I'll have this kind of like, oh right, Command 7, boom, nope, can't see it at all. Like only the dogs will see that. So don't worry about it. Move on. Yeah, it's such a key point.
It's kind of like that in the shop too, because like when you're building these pieces of furniture, they're like up on your assembly table or up on your workbench, and you also have this warped perception of how the thing is actually going to be perceived by people in real life. So like one of the most exciting parts for me when I'm building a piece is when I get it off of the workbench and onto the ground, and you finally like have that actual perspective on it. And it was kind of the same thing with doing the kitchen too, because like on the upper cabinets, it went the other way. They go up
right
in perspective instead of so it's very interesting. Like it can certainly be a pitfall, and something I think as you're looking to design more pieces that you have to constantly be thinking about, like the final perspective that people are going to have on this piece, and it's very easy to fall into that warped perception of how it's going to look.
Yeah. I've had a couple instances of overhangs. So like how much a tabletop or desktop should overhang the base. And if you have drawers in there. And in my mind, for whatever reason, when I'm designing down low, I think I tend to give it too much overhang, that it isn't until the final installation that I go, well, now from this perspective, it's almost blocking a little bit of the vantage point of my top rail that I wanted to see a little bit better. But you're absolutely right. It's so hard to see if you're just meandering around a file as opposed to the vantage point of reality. This actually ties in interestingly to one of the comments we got on YouTube directed at you, Matt. And you answered this person there, but I think maybe folks on the show listening would like to hear it. TRRZ1XT as opposed to 1XY, says, "Hey, Matt, aren't architects' drawings often simply a springboard for what you want to have in your home? It's your table, not theirs. I mean that kindly, by the way." So do you want to address that a little bit for anyone who's kind of confused as to why you're using that drawing as such a standard to go against and a starting point?
Because I spent a lot of money for that drawing. Is kind of what it comes down to. I paid them to do all the thinking.
Yeah.
That's what their job was in the whole project. So they designed literally everything in that edition, the elevations and everything. They could have gone that far as to fully develop those ideas and designs, but you're going to pay them to do that. So it's kind of this interesting realm of how much of this do I actually use versus completely throw away. But a lot of the things that I learned from their designs and through the whole design process is this idea of this repeated elements to tie all of the things together. So we see that in the additions and all of the little what do you want to call it, the rooms, all of the subdivisions in the spaces are done with a drop in ceiling height and pillars. So you have this, it's an open concept technically, but they're divided out in spatially. And that's a repeated concept through the entirety of that renovation to tie all those elements together. It's a repeated element. Within the kitchen itself, there is the repeated elements of the diamond designs. We have that in the panel for the fridge, the panel for the sink base, and in the end of the island. And now into the breakfast nook, there'll be a single diamond in the leg of the bench.
Sure.
So that's another repeated element. So it seems like it's more cohesive, like it's one complete design as opposed to separate designs for separate rooms. And then the same thing is going to be true here with the breakfast bench. That's the breakfast nook table. The leg is the same cutout or shape or whatever as the island leg assembly. It has that sort of half round scoop thing, and then it comes down to the square stock,
okay,
or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it'd be a square stock.
So I'm curious with architect, and I don't know about modern designers and architects and how their skills translate from the larger scope building and then cabinetry all the way down to a piece of furniture. So I'm curious, as a furniture maker, are you passing judgment on their design ability? Was this person able to effectively design a really nice looking piece of furniture, or you don't? I don't want to talk bad. I don't want to
pass too much judgment on them, but it's
right.
So I'll pass one piece of judgment on it. I guess is the way that they had designed it didn't make a whole lot of sense because it's an apron table with a trestle base, which doesn't really. You could do that, but the apron is just hanging from the tabletop then, sort of, unless you somehow connect it to the leg assembly.
Okay.
I don't really see an apron on a trestle table.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like the right move for furniture.
It almost feels like what I sometimes confront. I play a lot of video games, and I see furniture in those video games, and there's just sometimes elements that you go, that doesn't make any sense why that's there. But to an average onlooker, it's a piece of furniture. It's an element they might recognize. So I was just curious how many architects out there are actually capable of being good furniture designers. Just thinking in terms of the old green and green bungalows, right? Things that were designed not just for the building, but top down to every little piece of furniture. And that stuff was, I imagine not everybody can do that level of design for the whole thing like that. So
I think with anything, it's become a little bit specialized and segmented.
That's one of the
things.
Job.
Yeah, the last 2 years, one of the things that's transitioned for me in the day job is while I'm still the director of marketing, I'm director of architectural sales. So I spend a lot of time talking to architects and doing lunch and learns and visiting their offices and stuff like that. And probably in the last 6 months have presented to 80 architects, a bunch of different firms. And I think what happens more and more and more is there are architects that do structural work. Then there are within the same firm, you may have an architect that does the exterior envelope, and then an architect that does the foyer or the porte cochere, depending on how fancy you want to be. And then there's interior designers, and they may be architects or they may be interior designers that have a totally different focus. And then even then there's one that just does the bathroom and just does the master bath suites, and they're able to segment that no one architect is necessarily going to do the whole thing.
I gotcha.
Certainly they are there. You move into smaller mom and pop shops and things like that. And also I think some of the really, really high end, like $35, $45 million home type projects we've done, you will find sometimes that they think all the way down to the furniture, and they're designing all the way to the furniture. Whereas, your typical, well, I say typical architect, my typical architect is $5 to $8 million homes, which is not exactly typical. But yeah, they're segmented where that firm has one person in charge of each one of these little elements. And there's like one principal who kind of has like the cocktail napkin vision. And he's kind of like, go forth, my minions, and make it happen. And it's just a bunch of different people. I don't think anybody has needed or been forced to design to that level of granularity anymore.
Yeah. Very interesting. All right. Sorry, I didn't know if we wanted to divert into that, but I thought that was an interesting
that's good
topic. Shannon, what do you have going on that's more interesting than that?
Turning.
All right.
Turning. Breaking the internet by posting a picture of a power tool, which apparently offended a lot of people, according to my inbox.
Well, yeah.
God, you got to love that this is still a thing. Like, God forbid if I ever do actually go out and buy a domino, what's going to happen?
They say you get the audience you deserve, Shannon. So
that's what they say. Oh boy,
that is what they say.
What have I done?
I don't know who they are, but that's what they say.
No, I got asked to turn a couple of bottle stoppers for a couple of architects that they have a huge house that they're unveiling. So they always have these kind of champagne type parties or whatever. And my president is heading off to that. And she's like, could we use some of the Iroko that we sourced for this project to make, a couple bottle stoppers? I'm going to take some nice bottles of wine or whatever. I was like, yeah, sure. So that's the whole reason that I kept my Jet mini lathe, the thing that's behind me if you're watching the video. I've got an awesome Barnes pedal powered lathe, but it just doesn't. You can buy adapters and things for like mandrels and all the various little gubbins for turning small projects like pens and bottle stoppers and sometimes even bowls. Like getting a chuck on that 1876 lathe is possible, and I figured it out, but it takes like 4 different adapters. So my headstock is suddenly like, cantilevered out over the actual pulley wheel by 8 inches, and then the bowls on top of that. And it's just, it's not really, that machine was designed for spindle work primarily, and certainly not, mandrel work and things like that. So I hung onto the Jet lathe. It sits on a little corner of my shop. I rarely use it to the point where I usually bow shield it and not wipe it off, so that it's got that nice tacky thing to it. I pulled that out to turn those bottle stoppers, and it was just kind of like, hey, while I'm out here, it's October, maybe I should knock out a few gifts, and it's kind of what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 days. And actually, right before we started recording, I have this giant, like, enormous Rubbermaid container that I have all the various pin kits and bottle stopper kits, because when you buy them, you don't just buy one. In fact, I went to Woodcraft yesterday because I was out of bottle stoppers, and you couldn't buy one. You had to buy 5 or 10.
Right.
So, I was digging through that, and my organization system is not. Just put it that way. It's a giant Rubbermaid container fortunately, there's little Ziploc bags with a label on them, like from the manufacturer, that show what the bushings are that I have. Cause there's like 1,001 pin kits that all have different bushings. It's like, man, turning is expensive. It sneaks up on you, but I spent $25 on bottle stopper kits. And if I didn't already have certainly the wood, but then there's you got to drill a hole, and it's a very specific hole. And then you need to tap that hole. You need a specific tap for that. And to do that on my lathe, I've got to have a Morse, a drill Morse 2 taper for the drill. And then I've got to have a threaded headstock adapter and everything to pull it off. These are all the little things that I have for my Jet lathe. But yeah, fortunately, I've been turning for 15 years. And I have all this stuff. But man, when you actually start pulling it out and doing it, you realize turning gets really complex really fast.
Yeah, it adds up.
I still suck at it. Thank God for carbide, Easy Wood branded tools, or
they do make it possible.
Oh my God. And I think that's probably why I've never gotten good at it, because I have those tools.
Yeah.
It's just the ultimate turning crutch. It's great.
You get to it's very easy to get to a good enough point, I think, with those tools. And if you're not looking for anything better than that, then it's fine. Works just fine.
Nope. Turning for furniture making. That's all I need.
There we go. All right, cool. All right, so we're going to get into some kickback and group questions, and that's essentially going to be the theme for the rest of the show. It is just your feedback and then questions that came about because of that feedback.
It's from Dave. He says, Mark covered this a long time ago, but I'd love an update. What kind of first aid setup do you keep in your shop? Do you keep things like an eye wash station, burn care, or wound supplies? I've only found basic kits online that don't include serious injury items like tourniquets. Any recommendations, or could Woodcraft consider carrying a proper workshop kit? I think they do. I saw first aid kits at the local Timonium store. I don't know if it's proper or not, but I've got a first aid kit on the wall, hanging on the wall next to my lovely Spider-Man ink drawing that's hung on the wall, as most shops should have. Mm-hmm. It's I think I got it at Home Depot years ago. It's mostly lots of bandages. There is a tourniquet, like rubber thing to, I don't know, staunch the flow of blood. That's what tourniquets are for, right? Burn
Not
cream.
the way I use them. Sorry.
Fair enough.
I don't even know what that
little
means.
I don't really either, and I'm kind of hesitant to go down that road. Those little butterfly sticky suture type things. Lots of like Neosporin type creams and stuff like that. But it's basic. Next door is a sink with an actual like eye cup thingy that, manual eye wash station next to my laundry room. But that's really it for me. Yeah. I don't know what else I should be carrying.
Yeah. I've got a couple first aid kits. I've got one of the ones that he's talking about, like you could buy one and it just comes with medicine and, like stuff that probably isn't going to save you in an emergency necessarily. But what I wound up doing, and I guess maybe I should put a link to this because I think a lot of this info in the links might still be good. So Shannon, I'll drop that link in there. I put together a first aid kit of my own. If you're not finding what you're looking for, a lot of the stuff that comes in a first aid kit, like we just said, is not going to be very useful to you. So you can buy a first aid kit box and then buy the stuff you want to put in it, including I have like steri strips in there for, I think that's what you were just talking about, Shannon. Roll of gauze. You could have CA glue. You could have clotting material in there. Antibiotic ointments. Tweezers is another thing that I keep in there, as well as a magnifying glass to help me see a little bit better. But then you can get cold packs, tourniquets. You could pack this thing with all of the stuff that is critical for deep wound care and stuff like that, and make your own. I think it's a great idea to encourage a store like Woodcraft to have a woodworker's version of this for sale. That would be fantastic. But ultimately, you could very easily concoct your own just using stuff that you could find on Amazon, most likely. Yeah, actually, I did a video. This, I think, was probably back in the Woodworker Safety Week days, where I did a woodworker's first aid kit that you could assemble yourself. So before we move on, Matt, I'm curious, what do you have in the way of first aid going on in the shop?
I got the bottle of CA glue, I got the masking tape, and I got the paper towel.
My man.
Nice.
I love it.
That covers most of my injuries in the shop.
Yeah,
realistically.
that's pretty much it.
I mean, that's. I should have all the other things, but I don't. I guess
Yeah.
I should, but
Yeah.
we got the eye wash cup thing. That's, I guess.
All
But
the
like
stuff that
cuts.
Mark just mentioned, it's in that basic kit, but it's like one of them. So like if you need the cold pack, and there's a cold pack that like I could essentially in a Ziploc bag that say I lop a finger off, I could put it in the bag with the cold pack.
Yeah.
Obviously then you've got to replace that before you lop another finger off, because then you go to your first aid kit and be, SOL. But
Yeah. So when I searched first aid on Woodcraft's website, one thing came up. It's like a chair repair thing. I don't know why that came up, but they do sell Uncle Bill's tweezers, $6.99. These are, if you've ever tried using tweezers that were not intended for the purpose. So I have gone in the past and taken tweezers from places I shouldn't have taken them from, that I think are meant for like eyebrows or something, and they don't exactly work that well on splinters. Like if you really want a good quality like splinter removal tool, it's kind of a different thing. And that point, the like edges really need to come together. In fact, I think maybe I'll take Nicole's and I'll spend a few hours at the lapping plate to see if I can get that.
Gosh.
Now that I'm into this, I may as well. I want those two halves to come together with no space between them. That's my goal.
I think you're better off at the grinding wheel for that,
Maybe.
at least to start.
Yeah.
And then you can hone it to a mirror polish on
Okay.
the stones.
Fair enough. Anyway,
I was like, you got all the time in the world to be lapping things.
I got nothing
so,
else.
I mean,
I got nothing
Although
else
a
going on.
mirror polish might be bad. You might want a little bit more tooth to grab the
little
splinter.
friction.
anything little grabby.
Yeah.
Grabby.
Yeah, but the mirror polish could also be like, it could illuminate, the reflected light.
Which
Like my tweezers have a built-in LED light in them,
Yeah.
like in the elbow or whatever the joint part. There's an LED light,
the
which
crotch.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Crotch. That's the word I was looking for.
Yep.
Sorry, I was going to have to pay Matt a royalty if I used that word.
Well,
Yes.
but
Cha-ching.
But don't underestimate the importance of having those tweezers in your first aid kit. I've got what are they? Tweezman, I think it's called, something like that I use in mine, and it is absolutely like the tweezers themselves could injure you if you use them incorrectly. But they are incredibly good at pulling out splinters. So I'm going to actually put the link to this Uncle Bill's hoochie here on Woodcraft site. We'll put that in the notes as well, because that looks like it is very much intended for people who are pulling out splinters, not stray hairs out of their face. Okay, Matt, you're up. Speaking of someone with hair on their face, Matt.
Oh, not Tom?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm sure Tom does.
Tom's hairless. All right.
Hairless Tom.
Tom asks, why no shapers? I'm curious why none of you have a shaper in your shop. I added one about 4 years ago and can't imagine working without it, especially for mortise and tenon or bridle joints. I know tooling can get pricey, but even basic cutters cover most needs. With so little online education about shapers, aside from Alpine Technical Workshop, maybe there's opportunity for new content here. Huh. I have one I don't have one, I guess, from the standpoint of the router table is more approachable and it seems to be more common for the viewers. So from that standpoint, it's more relatable for people that are like kind of getting into it. The one nice advantage of the router table is that it's just the router. So especially when you're getting started, you can have one router and you're like, okay, I got to use it freehand, but I want to do some router operations. I slap it in the table and then I have a router table.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the more approachable things, especially for beginners. And then you may not have as much floor space used up with a stationary power tool that's heavy and massive like a shaper. For the folks that don't have a lot of floor space, you can do the thing I hate, the table saw router tables combo thing. So that also allows you to save some space there. I don't really know any shapers that mount to table saws and allow you to use them together.
Right.
That might be something that maybe is handy. Maybe you get one of those fancy European ones that are all the all-in-one things that are table saw with the shaper built into it and the planer and like everything under the sun.
12 foot by 12 foot footprint.
Yes, the giant one. Which is even worse for small shop use,
Right.
I guess. I kind of want to get a shaper just for like when I'm doing the house stuff for like larger runs of moldings and things, but otherwise from like day-to-day furniture making, like I don't really see a whole lot of need for like almost a duplicate tool that I could get out of a router table.
I'd love to kick this back to Tom and say, Tom, he said mortise and tenon and bridle joints, but like what else are you using it for, Tom? Because maybe 10 years ago we could say, well, this is totally unapproachable and most woodworkers are going to want that, so I'm not going to make contact for that. But now we live in a world of CNC machines and telehandlers and content influencers with full millwork houses, and I feel like we should have seen the shaper show up with this escalation of the basic influencer's shop size, and yet we haven't. Right. So is there really, I've used a shaper at the office, and even there we don't use it that much. We occasionally have a need to run a molding upright, so we can run it vertical against a fence, and for whatever reason, we can't run it through, or generally what happens is one of the 6 head molders is, busy. But even then we don't use it that much. And I just wonder, is this indicative of the shaper having been replaced by other more efficient tools? I mean, one might say the router table is one of those tools. Do you really need a 5, 10, 15 horsepower shaper to run your typical furniture molding profiles?
Oh, not to mention a lot of those typical profiles are things that might be problematic on some models of shapers. We all have a router. I think that's the order that things go. We get the router, we get all the tooling. And the great thing about the router table, all that same tooling works. We've just flipped the router upside down. So there's a familiarity there with it that people are not as intimidated by. But there's an argument to be made here. It makes perfect sense. The shaper is a great tool, but I think I'm looking at Tom's signature. Heritage Home Renewals is, I guess, his business. And if you're in that line of work and you're doing major profiles, or maybe you're doing millwork and things in-house, there are going to be reasons that a shaper just makes more sense. But if you look at the hobbyist market, it's just more intimidating, extra, like very expensive tooling, and you probably already have a drawer full or a cabinet full of router bits already that are just there waiting to get used. So
They're cheap.
I think the
much
biggest
if you bought
downside,
decent ones.
like comparing a router to the shaper, is if you're going to keep their tooling the same.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get the router collet for a shaper. Your smaller bits aren't going to spin very fast. They're not going to get up enough. Like, I want to know from the people that actually use those router bits on their shapers, those smaller bits that are only spinning like half the speed they should. How is the cut efficiency on those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And seriously, Tom, when you listen to this, please write us back. I'd love to hear how you're using it, because I'm sure it's a blind spot, but speaking from the perspective of someone who works at an architectural millwork house, like, we're rarely using it. So what are we doing wrong? Please clue us in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's a good question, because we've heard that a lot. There are other tools as well that you talked about, the like Euro style saws. Why is that not more popular here in the States, but it is elsewhere? And a lot of it just has to do with the history of, hobbyist woodworking and starting small and building on to what we're already comfortable with, as opposed to completely departing to something that's arguably better, but it just doesn't fit into our shops the way we do things.
From a hobbyist perspective on that specific note, it's like, do I just buy like the more approachable, I can buy this and then this and then this as funds become more available, or do I spend $15,000 up front and get an all-in-one fancy European machine?
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily works for most people's budgets or the way they work.
Well, I think one of the arguments is, by the time you get a JSO lift and a table and the router and all the bits, you are probably at the price of maybe an entry-level shaper, but people don't.
You absolutely are.
But people don't do it in that order. They do exactly what you said. They buy an inexpensive router, a few bits, and then they start to scale up from there. So by the time they get there, they may have grand total spent that, but they spent it over 10 years to get to that point.
I think it's as agile either from a setup and knockdown perspective. Like, it's a tool that's meant to be set up and run 1,000 linear feet, 10,000 linear feet, not two edges of a tabletop and then move on. Like, and because of that, does it have, there's certainly, there are going to be models out there that have that precision and the dial in the setting or whatever. But like, you may be making 17 adjustments on your router table over the course of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, there's not a lot, at least the shapers that I've worked with, they're not really done that way. Like, there's 15 minutes of setup and then 7 hours of running of material. That's what it does well. It's not designed to
I think if you look at the
pivot.
shops that actually like use the shapers a lot, they don't just have one. They have like 6.
Yeah.
And they park them fully set up and ready to go for whatever common run they're going to do. It's definitely more like, I set it up, it's a production machine, and then I'm never going to tear it down and set it up for something else, because it's just that much work to set up.
Door and window shops, I could see that and have seen it all day. Like he's saying, bridles and mortise and tenons. Hell yeah. If you want to cut sash, that'd be awesome. And you could have, maybe you've got 3 lines of window sash and you've got 3 shapers, trying to put up the number of fingers there. Speaking of first aid, you've got 3 shapers, each set up with a different, whether one, sash is an OG, one sash is a roundover, etc. And that's all it does.
Yeah.
All day long, all month long, etc.
And then you got to get a power feeder, and it's a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
That does sound fun, though. All this said, I wouldn't mind it if someone plopped a shaper in my shop tomorrow. I'd be okay with it.
Again, it's most like how much production runs, though. Like, if you got like, I got to make thousands of linear feet or something in a furniture shop, it's not that common of a thing.
Matt, when has
I think
that
that's
ever,
kind of where it falls.
when has that kind of logic ever prevented me from buying a tool?
It doesn't, but then you end up selling it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but what about
Being like, I don't need
what
this.
about my planer? My planer is so overkill for anything I'm ever going to do.
But that's a core function of like of any furniture shop is
I
planing
do still
stuff.
use it. You're right. I also like to sleep on it naked.
Like, where's your multi-router? You don't have that anymore.
No. I wish I did, though. I do. I wish I did. All right. Well, you know what? If you are in the market for a shaper, you know who sells them?
Do they?
Oh, do they?
They do indeed. I'm looking right now.
Okay.
They've got Laguna
Good to know.
shapers. They got Powermatic shapers. They've got a shaper from Oliver Machinery, the blue ones.
Oh, yeah.
And then they, of course, have the Shaper Origin.
Different kind of shaper.
Yeah. They've got a 1.5 horsepower Jet. Like, talk about entry level. I didn't realize Jet had a shaper.
In case you've never listened to this show before, we're talking about Woodcraft. Sorry, Woodcraft. We're talking about you, but we've not yet mentioned
haven't
your
said that
name.
yet.
I didn't say Woodcraft.
No, none of us did.
Most people know.
You said
Woodcraft,
all
folks.
the power tool brands, except for the story
Most
you're
people
talking
know.
about itself.
Most people know
These
what.
folks, Woodcraft.
Yeah, they know what's up. Yeah, we're talking about Woodcraft here. So, just as an aside, if you're in the market for a shaper, go check them out at Woodcraft. They got like a ton of brands that you can check out. That's cool. Good to know. I'm just surprised. I didn't realize Jet had an entry in the market. It's about $2,300, 1.5 horsepower, single phase, and it's a pretty small, like not a big footprint. It's actually looks smaller than a router table. That's kind of interesting.
So the thing you're about to announce is a router table giveaway.
No.
Yeah. Well, maybe next month Woodcraft will give away a shaper.
We're going from a mini turning set, 5-piece tool set to a $5,000 shaper.
Oh, that escalated quickly.
Man, Woodcraft's up in their game. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Christmas time, there's going to be those free kids that they still have left over from all their demos.
Yeah.
Give those away.
Yeah.
They don't sell very well.
They just keep piling up in the back room.
Oh, man. All right. Well, speaking of router tables, we talked about JSOM last month. Well, guess what? It's still something that's going to... I always have to be careful of the dates and when we record and publish, but this is something that will be happening after you hear this show. The next 2-day demo event at Woodcraft is October 17th and 18th, featuring JSOM. Demos at 11 a.m. on Friday and 1 p.m. on Saturday. They're also going to be showing off other JSOM tools throughout both days. Attendees will be able to enter for a chance to win a JSOM prize package or a $100 Woodcraft gift card. No purchase necessary. Plus, enjoy 15% off all JSOM products during the event, just so you can get started on that next project. Now, here's the thing. The grand prize is not a shaper. It's what we seem to prefer to a shaper, and that is a router table package. A beautiful, outfitted, ultimate router table package from JSOM. That's the PowerTech. Is that what it's? Yeah, PowerTech. I love it when companies do that. Router motor with a remote switch, dual intake dust box, hose adapter kit, and a PowerTech router motor. So that whole thing valued at about $3,000. Second prize is valued at $239. That's their clear cut table saw stock guides and the rip stick. Look, I said something about this last time. And I listened back to the show, and I'm like, I complained about it, and I never looked up what the heck the ripstick is.
What it is.
I'm assuming this is made by JSOM? Hold on. There we go. Ripstick. Yep. Oh, I get it.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the thing. When you use the clear stock guides, they tend to be pretty close to the fence. Right, because the whole idea is they sit on top of the work. They're actually fantastic, but they sit on top of the work, and it leaves you with a very, very skinny gap that if you're trying to push something through, you have a little bit of difficulty getting that piece all the way through under those rollers. So it is a very unique, long, like horizontal stick that allows, and it is a push stick, but it allows you to get between the roller and the fence. Specifically designed for use with these things. I get it now. I should have looked at it last time. Now I'm not going to make fun of it because now I think it's cool. All right, and there's a third prize valued at $100, which is a Woodcraft gift card. And every store, as a bonus prize, will have one of the JSOM router lifts available. So this is October 17th and 18th. You guys don't want to miss this. Find your local Woodcraft store and get your butt over there. Go watch those demos and enter for a chance to win these awesome prizes.
Fun. And did you know that all Woodcraft stores now carry the full line of Rubio Monocoat products?
What?
That's right. Rubio Monocoat. It protects and enriches wood with just one coat. That's the mono thing. It's not duo coat, it's monocoat.
Yep.
Trio coat. Although trio coat sounds better than monocoat. Maybe you should apply 3 coats.
Sounds like more work to me.
Yeah. Well, anyway. It's there. It bonds at a molecular level to highlight grain, deliver lasting durability, and resist wear, water, and heat. Quick to apply, eco-friendly, and food safe, Rubio saves you time while keeping your products beautiful and strong.
Oh, yeah. That's the stuff. Nicely done. One last thing, don't forget, the Just Get Started campaign is still rolling right along. Head over to woodcraft.com/start. You can find yourself a little bit of inspiration, a little project inspiration, or some information, or some Adam Savage, whatever you're into. It's all there.
Information inspiration.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks, Woodcraft, for
Paralysis
sponsoring the
analysis.
show. We appreciate it. Hope you sell
Thank
some
you,
shapers.
Woodcraft.
We need to sell
Yeah,
more shapers
seriously.
in this country.
We started it here.
this is where it all
The
began.
new revolution in influencer and content.
There you
It's
go.
all going to happen here.
Shavers.
Yep. All right. Let's get into our additional questions today. I got one from Erica Tesla. I don't know how she pronounces it. I've run into the same thing over and over again. What's enough when you're doing a woodworking operation? How flat is flat enough? How smooth is smooth enough? How snug is snug enough? How much finish is enough, etc.? I'm not asking for a specific answer that applies to all projects. I'm looking for how you guys decide you're finished with an operation and can move on, because that's the one thing that I don't feel is discussed in the books and stuff that I read. Signed, the woman who flattened and smoothed her workbench top to a 0.5 millimeter across the whole surface because she didn't know.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is a complex question because it really does vary depending on what you're doing. You know, whether we're talking about setting up a tool or we're talking about the project itself. You know, when we look at like flatness of a workbench and you compare that to the flatness of a dining table, right? Where it really is not that critical that it be dead flat. These things change, and it's definitely something that comes with experience because you start to realize where, wait a minute, this is a waste of time. Having my workbench this flat, while sure, it's cool to do it, it's kind of neat, does it really serve any purpose? And your hand plane, your little tiny apron plane, does that need to be dead flat? But here I am with 20 plus years of woodworking experience, and that's how I spent my weekend because I wanted to. Because apparently I was really bored, and I thought it was...
Because why? You're going to be smoothing and flattening with an apron plane? I mean,
Yes, Matt, I am.
okay. Go for it.
Yeah. To each his own.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think a lot of this really does come down to experience, and it's hard. It's kind of hard to convey without the specifics, because when you say how flat is flat enough, well, what are we talking about? Are we talking about a hand plane? Are we talking about a table saw top? Are we talking about your workbench? These all sort of depend. But there's also the elements of furniture making where you question what's enough. Now, Shannon will probably draw his enough line at a very different place than I would. Like when we talk about Shannon and the smoothness and thicknesses, because of hand tool operations and the nature of those, he doesn't have to worry. This is not a knock on you, by the way, Shannon. I'm not joking about you.
It just could be very dirty.
No, this
Anyway.
Yeah, this is all.
Why are we talking about my smoothness and thicknesses?
You know
I don't
why.
like that.
You know
I'm very
why, big
uncomfortable
boy.
with this.
But I've often heard you talk about what surfaces are actually important because of reference surfaces and which faces
Right.
actually matter. Whereas for me, I'm throwing everything over the jointer and planer. So both of my faces will always be exactly flat, parallel, and fairly similar in smoothness. So
Are they? Or within what tolerance are they within flat and square?
enough that I don't have to measure it. Like,
But you know when enough is enough.
well,
Because it hasn't caused a problem down the line.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, then maybe does it all boil down to that? If it doesn't cause a problem down the line, then you've done enough and could even back
it goes
off.
back to the first point I made talking about your apron plane.
Yeah.
You're looking for problems where there aren't any.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I often tell folks that if you find yourself, the flat enough question, if you find yourself asking, is this flat enough? It is. If I hold up the board and go, is that flat enough? That means it looks pretty flat. Like if you have to ask yourself this question, it's flat enough. Unless we're talking like NASA tolerances here. If you're building furniture and you hold that board up and it looks flat, or you put a straight edge up and it's flat enough. Like, yeah. If you're not asking that question, then obviously it's visibly out of flat. But if you're like, I don't know, is this flat enough? Yes. The answer is always yes.
Yeah. This also comes down to a vision thing, because I know as a beginning woodworker, you don't necessarily even know what to look for, and you don't even notice the things that are wrong necessarily with the piece that you're making.
You rub the board against your face.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
if it feels strong, it's flat enough.
Yeah. But I could definitely say when it comes to like smoothness and finishing, there were just things that I didn't understand in the beginning. I didn't have the vision to literally see the problems with the surface that later on down the line, I understood that. And once I noticed it, I couldn't leave it alone. So now all of my finishes have to be, or surfaces have to be prepped to whatever this level is. But I still may take it a few stages more than someone else just because of a personal preference and what I see with, my own tastes and tolerances with what I allow. I guess what I'm saying is there's more than one right answer to these things too. There's never just one right answer. And there are meticulous woodworkers out there that would drive you nuts to watch them work because they can't draw the line earlier. They have to take it to a certain point, and everybody has their own tolerance for that. So my point is, if you do notice the problem, it exists, but then you just have to decide if that's worth pursuing.
She brought up in here how snug is snug enough, and I actually do have an answer for that one.
Yeah, there's an answer.
I use gravity. So like if it's a mortise and tenon, I will hold one piece of the mortise and tenon, and if the other one doesn't fall out, it's snug enough. It's a friction fit. Right now, obviously, you don't want to have like, hold one leg of a table and have the entire table suspended. It might fall apart. But like, just take the two boards you're joining together, and if they hold together snug under gravity, to me, that's snug enough.
Well, the other side of that,
I'm getting in contact.
You also shouldn't have to put it together with a hammer, right?
Yeah.
If you could put it together and maybe a couple light taps with a mallet or something, but it goes together without too much force and then doesn't fall apart under gravity, that's what I would call the perfect fit.
Great.
Yeah.
So
Erica, if you
there's one.
If you want to send us any specifics, I know you said to avoid specifics, but it's real hard to know like what we're talking about without the specifics on something like this. But it will.
My answer, like Mark said, will be totally different because I don't take my wood to the tools. So like I don't need a flat face to reference against a flat planer bed, I just it's a totally different thing in hand tools. Mm-hmm. Each face can be its own independent flatness and planarity. Planarity, is that a word?
It is today.
Geometric. Yeah, today it is. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks for that question, Erica. That's a good one.
This comes from Tom. He says, aside from what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
An African or European swallow?
I was curious, what is your favorite distraction when you hit a wall on a project and need to clear your head to gather some perspective / distance in order to move forward? I'm not really sure where the Holy Grail quote comes from in there, but I guess that was just one of the other questions he wanted to ask. I don't know. Is it African or European? Actually, I would say I'm experiencing this now. Woodturning has always been a great distraction. Certainly, getting out of the shop can be a really good thing. I like to go for a bike ride. Clear my head, just oftentimes spend a lot of time thinking about my projects while I'm out on the bike or, it used to be out for a run before I screwed up my knee. Now I just go for a bike ride. Mm-hmm. But I've also found, I've got 2 projects in the shop right now that I'm at a point where I frankly one of them I just don't want to work on anymore. And I'm so far in that I've just got to get it done. Another one, it's just a really, really meticulous part of the project that is meticulous, but also highly repeated. I've got 36 of this operation to do. And I'm kind of like, oh my God, I've done 8 of them. Shoot me now. Like, I don't want to do the remaining, 20 plus to pull it off. Pulling out my lathe and knocking out some of these like super fast projects, like turning a bottle stopper in 5 minutes from rough wood to dried finish,
quick wins,
is incredibly, incredibly satisfying. Mm-hmm. It allows me to kind of, and even though it's highly repetitive, allows me to kind of just like crank up the music, still be woodworking. And again, easy wood tools is like the easy button of turning. Like it allows me to actually, here's a shape in my head that I want to create and I can actually do it instead of going, oh, my skew is fighting me or my bowl gouge is fighting me. And I can't do that. So wood turning is a great solution for me. I found carving to be the same way, especially if I'm not actually carving like a project. I'm just like carving like a practice piece or something like that. Yeah. Very meditative.
Nice. Yeah, for me, usually I try to squeeze in a little shop improvement project that I find if I still need to be productive. If I am at a point where I need to be completely unproductive as far as work goes, then I'm with Shannon, I'm hopping on a bike, I'm exercising, going to the gym, something physical, because I find that the physical discomfort that comes with exercise, this is also a mental health thing that works for me. That physical discomfort is great at giving my brain something else to focus on and giving it time away from that project that I might be stressing out about or experiencing a creative block on. And I find that those 2 things can be super helpful for me. What do you do, Matt?
I try to get kind of out of the indoors. I try to get outside and either just go for a walk or try and like stack some wood or clean up something or whatever outside. Just a lot of just being outside and being not inside. is kind of all I really need.
Mhm.
And if I can do something productive while I'm out there, then it's also not like I'm just sitting around doing nothing either.
You know what you should try? You should try lapping your hand planes.
Do that,
I
Matt.
don't think I will be doing that.
Yeah, no, that's bad advice.
Come on.
Don't do
I'm
that.
good. I'm good.
Fine.
No, I'll go pick up a log or something. drive a telehandler. That sounds way more relaxing.
Drop your kid through the roof, normal stuff.
Yeah, sure. Basic
They can do
stuff.
that on their own. They're proficient at that.
Yeah, but also, as we discovered before we started recording, Matt's kids went out and rode basically 20 miles today.
Yeah.
So
Super
Yeah.
impressive.
stay tuned here for the Cremona cycling team because they're going to have a pace line rolling. It's awesome.
You got your own little baby Peloton going over there. I love it.
Kind of like that. Yeah, my mother-in-law's bike. I'm just going around.
It's great. Seriously, I'm going to bring you a real bike one of these days.
So when you come visit me, you have someone to ride? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
You guys,
It's a good idea,
You guys
actually.
have roads up there, right?
Yeah, roads.
We can use them for that. Actually, your property alone would probably be fine. We'll just do laps up and down your driveway.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I'm
I don't
running
think
out
I
of
understand how
space to
steep my
store bikes.
driveway is.
You got a steep
Like,
driveway?
I usually walk the bike up because I'm like, otherwise you're sitting there on lowest gear or highest gear, whatever, pedaling like crazy
Nice.
and going nowhere.
That's
Going down's fun though.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's
You
fine.
can get some speed
I don't
going.
mind a little hill.
Good for you.
A little hill. Okay. All right. This question's from Eduardo. I love the idea of a table saw blade micro adjuster from episode 570, but what if instead we had a scale mounted to the side of the fence to measure the blade height? It could line up with the blade's teeth to eliminate parallax and the am I on the highest tooth guessing game. You'd avoid scratching measuring tools, free up a hand while adjusting height, and it could even be a simple clamp-on accessory. Maybe not as precise as a micro adjuster, but far cheaper and simpler. What do you think? I hate it. This is so far against the vision that we had for this.
Yeah.
Because the vision for this is that you get away from the stupid adjustment mechanism that's there already, and you get into an actual micro adjuster that actually can allow you to increment that blade up in very fine increments and not that coarse hand wheel. Maybe I don't quite understand this, but I feel like you'd have to move the fence over to the blade every single time you want to adjust.
Right.
Yeah, it'd have to be
Use
right
this.
next to it.
Which in a lot of the cases that I want to use this, I'm not even really using the fence, or the fence is in the way, or it's set somewhere else. So I feel like that's also like you have to if you actually are using the fence, you have to unset your fence to whoever it was on your fence setting, and then bring it over, get your height setting set, and then put your fence back to where it was, which is never really like as you could put a stop on your fence to bring it back to exactly the same place, but I like where your head's at as far as like a somewhere to get there, but like we really want the router lift in a table saw.
Yeah, I mean, I care less about
At the
seeing,
core.
Like I care less about seeing where the blade tip is on some kind of scale than I already know what the cut result is. I want to nudge it up a hair. I don't like whatever a hair is, a 64th. I just want to be able to control it with fine control, not determine a fixed location. That's why the jigs and stuff that already exist on the market that you could put on top of the blade to get the blade height, or like I think even Micro Jig has some things where, it's just like a little plastic device and you pull it up until the teeth touch the plastic device like that. No. I don't want any of that. Like I want to put the blade, make the cut, get close and just go, I just want to skosh more, just a little more.
Right. Yeah, because most of the time we don't know what the height is in the first place.
Yeah.
You never actually measured it. It's or like you drop your tenon board on and you raise the blade until it hits the existing cut, and then you're done, right? And then, like you said, I want a hair's breadth,
Right.
a gnat's wing difference taken off.
Well, we talked like Erica's question about the snug fit, right? Like, well, okay, I tested this tenon and I can't quite get it in. I just want to take a little bit more off. Well, here's the problem. You're probably doing a centered tenon. So every little adjustment you make, it's actually times 2 because you're going to take it off of both faces of the tenon. And now it's going to be too much and you're going to wind up having a loose fit. Whereas if I knew that I had that kind of really tight granular control, I could go up just a teeny tiny bit, do both faces, and now I've nailed that fit.
I think like we mentioned in the last one we talked about this, it's actually worse when you're trying to go the other way. Like, oh, this fit's too loose.
Yeah.
I want to make it tighter. I want the blade to go down.
Yeah. Then it goes.
So on the mechanism now, you got to go past wherever the hell you were,
Pull up the slop,
and then come
and
then hopefully
yeah.
come back up again because there's so much backlash in that mechanism. So, just I really want. I can't believe I never thought about this until we had this discussion on the show. But why does this not exist? Why? What?
So
Maybe we should ask the guy who wrote the book Hybrid Woodworking. If only there were some hand tools that could adjust the cut after the power tool is done.
we all know that's stupid and slow.
Says the guy who wrote Hybrid Woodworking.
Yeah.
I love it.
I guess if this existed, you wouldn't have hybrid woodworking.
That's right. I
True.
wouldn't need it.
Mark would be nothing without this.
Here's the thing,
be
though.
Careful.
We did receive one correction. I wish I could credit the guy. I wrote him back and thanked him, but explained why it doesn't really help us. The Festool table saw that came out last year that a bunch of influencers got, and then they never used it again. Remember that one?
No, because I have no idea what it is.
Okay.
So it must have not been that. Must not use it enough.
It's a table saw in a box, basically. It's a typical Festool job site.
Oh, that thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody use that.
Oh, it's funny how that worked. Isn't that weird? Everybody just went back to using...
I just saw oh, look, here's the table saw in a box. Okay, I haven't actually seen anybody make anything
Nope.
with it, though.
But...
Okay, continue.
That said, apparently, it does have a vertical control over blade height.
Oh, okay.
Right, which is really nifty if you want a cordless job site saw made by Festool that costs $2,000. That's a pretty small window of folks who are going to be interested in that. So the tech is there in a format that we wouldn't want to use. So
is it because we're such a niche use case, cutting joinery on a table saw, where it's most people that use table saws just cut all the way through it? It doesn't matter what the blade height is?
I mean, traditionally, I don't know. I mean, it's just...
Is that why the manufacturers never thought of doing this? Because it's not worth it? Because there's not enough people that care about joinery on a table saw?
I guess. And I mean, the thing is with this Festool,
maybe they're all using shapers. That's it.
That's it. Back to Tom's situation. Well, Shannon, you have a joinery bench, and then people will make an add-on bench for their workbench. I could get this Festool table saw, and it could live on top of my table saw. It'll be like my little mini table saw for joinery. There you go. It'll be my joinery table saw.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shops that have two table saws.
Yeah.
One's set up for cross-cutting, with a sled. The other one's just for ripping all day. You've had two band saws before, Mark. You just need another table saw. You need a joinery table saw and a ripping cross-cutting.
This just makes all kinds of sense to me. I'm gonna buy this.
It really does. Get a shaper while you're at it.
I mean, but this is cool. And if anybody's thinking outside the box a little bit, it's going to be Festool, doing cool things like this. It's just give me this format or give me this technology in a much bigger cabinet style table saw, and I will be the first one to buy one. I think that's awesome.
How hard would for this to be an aftermarket upgrade? Seems like that would be pretty damn hard.
Probably.
You would have to replace the trunnions, right? The trunnion and the screw. That's major surgery on a table saw.
Yeah.
That would freak me out personally. Somebody like Matt, no problem. He'd probably build one from scratch.
I was thinking about this actually now. My God, no one's done this. Maybe I should just build this.
Well,
see? Case in point.
And then you got one of the most popular saws on the market is the Saw Stop, which has a event that occurs that also might be something that I could see knocking things out of calibration, pretty bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I think Matt's onto something. The large use case for the table saw is not as a precision tool. It's a dimensioning tool, not a joinery tool.
Well, same thing with the miter saw. There's things that we do with a miter saw that it was never intended to do. I mean, I use, because again, bringing up Festool, because of the Capex, I would get such good results on there that I stopped doing my cross-cutting at the table saw. Because I'm why would I? It's so much faster. And if I have stops too, that's my preferred way to do it, as long as I have a Capex. But give me another miter saw, then I don't want to do the crosscuts there. So I don't know. I mean, this is interesting. I do wish this would be so I'm looking at other saws on the market. The only, at least in the public's sort of perception, if you were to judge by the online buzz, the only company that's been kind of competing with SawStop, because SawStop took over the last 10 plus years, completely took over. Harvey is the company that you hear people talking about a little bit more now, and it's 100% the influencer effect, but they don't have a safety feature. So it does go to show you, with the right set of conditions, you can still come up with a saw that could displace the SawStop. Doesn't have that safety feature, but if it had joiner features, like features that people who make fine joinery at their table saw would be interested in, you can hone in on that. It's just someone's got to take the risk of actually making it.
One might make the case that the user base doesn't need the safety feature as much. I'm sure you can make a lot of cases saying that, advanced woodworkers, joiners, etc., will still get hurt. But, they've been around table saws a while. I mean, the reason SawStop exists is because of the large number of users that don't really know what they're doing. And this makes it a lot safer.
So does the Festool version have the blade tech from SawStop in it?
I don't know.
Because they own it.
You'd be the only one who knows that.
I was going to say, like Matt said, it was come and gone so fast that I forgot it existed. So.
Yeah. I mean, they own the technology. It would be crazy if it didn't, but I don't know. I wish I would have read that ahead of time. I'm not going to take the time to read it now. Let us know, people. Interesting stuff. Okay. Where am I in the notes? I think we're done, aren't we?
I think we're done.
That's going to do it for us.
Okay.
Mark?
I think that's going to do it for us today. Let me read it, Shannon. Jeez.
Line.
Actually, that's a good question. I'm still hung up on this table saw thing. Would you guys, if you had the choice, would you, Matt, you have a SawStop, right?
I do, yeah.
Would you trade the SawStop for a non-safety version of something that has that adjustability in it?
Probably.
Yeah. I would do it in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah. I'm not asking you, Shannon, because your opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what? That if such a thing existed with that level of precision, I would take a look at it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't you have one, the Joint Maker Pro?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was case in point. Like I ignored it for 15 years and I was like, you know what? Now I'm ready for it.
Right. There you go. All right. Well, as I was going to say before, that's going to do it for us. Remember, the show is made possible by the generous contributions of our patrons. That's at patreon.com/woodtalk, as well as our friends at Woodcraft. There's always something cool going down at your local store, so check the website. Especially this time of year, it seems like, it's woodworking season. These stores are having tons of events. Right, Matt?
My goodness, so many events. You ready for this? All the stores, they're having the same event on October 17th and 18th. That's the JSO demos. Woo! You can get there and you can check out all the JSO stuff, and
you should go in there. You go in there and go, "Why no shaper?
Where's my shaper? Why are you only a router table? Where's the shaper?"
Right.
Okay. Anyway, local events. Here we go for your local stores. Here are a list of stores all having the same event. Okay. The following stores are having an anniversary. Well, I guess they're kind of not anniversary or open house events, October 11th and or 12th. I don't really know. You check your local store for more details, but they include discounts, demos, food, and giveaways. The stores in question: Baltimore, Virginia Beach, Pittsburgh, Birmingham, Lexington, Clearwater, and Richmond. And then October 12th, the Woodcraft of Virginia Beach. Make a 3D stair-step cutting board with, how'd they get this guy again? Alex Snodgrass.
Hello.
I don't know how they can book that guy. That guy's everywhere.
Yeah. He's awesome.
Busy guy.
Love Alex.
It's cool. Have you seen that cutting board? That's pretty cool.
Yes, his cutting boards are
not
insane.
in person. I feel like it's one of those things, like if you see it in person, it's even more like messing with your brain.
You guys know I have 3 of his cutting boards in my house.
Why you gotta brag all the time?
Wow. Look how fancy you are.
here.
If I wanted to brag, I would let you know that I got a DM from Nick Offerman. But I'm not going to say that on the show. Because that would be...
And
I don't want to make you guys feel bad.
You have many leather-bound books as well?
Yes. I mean, we're still friends and all, but I'm just saying, I may have gotten an upgrade.
Maybe by you close personal friends?
Yeah. I mean, well, let's define that. What does that mean?
Well, when he DM'd you...
Dresser one time.
Yeah. There you go. When Nick Offerman DM'd you, did you Ron Swanson him back and say, "I know more than you," and walked away?
That would be inadvisable. And no, I did
Was it him or was it his people?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it really?
I don't know. I've been getting a lot of comments from what's his face, John Malecki. I'm gonna put it in air quotes. John Malecki on my Instagram stuff lately, which I'm assuming is not at all John Malecki. You never know these days because they get people to run their accounts that are actually, trained up on sounding like them. So it could be.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I could.
You could always text him and ask him.
Look, Nick strikes me as the kind of person who can handle his own social media.
think so.
But what do I know?
Are you friends with him? You would know that much about him to actually
I
understand
mean,
that
the next
about
time
him?
we have a little drink by the fireplace, fireside chat, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, I mean, he and Mark, they're slid into the DM buddies.
Yeah, we
they're-
go way
they're-
back, Nick and I.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh. You guys go out to a boil sometime and have a little...
Like a
dinner?
shrimp boil?
Yeah, you and me.
Oh,
Come
you're
on.
talking about our
What the hell?
our favorite.
How you not get any references?
Look, I got it. It took me 2 seconds. Jeez.
It should be instantaneous.
Okay. Anyway,
I think we should land this plane, folks. Please send us questions. Let us know
Oh,
how
still
you're using
recording?
your shaper. Let us know which famous celebrity has slid into your DMs lately.
Oh, we were
And,
done.
no.
But
we
send
haven't
us those
finished.
questions, please. No, you're finished. I'm cutting you off. Cutting both of you off at this point. woodtalkshow@gmail.com. That's where you can send us questions, voicemails, etc. You can find us on Instagram. We are at Wood Talk Show. You also can find Matt at Matt Cremona, Mark at Wood Whisperer, and me at Renaissance Woodworker. And most of all, thank you to Todd. He clips all this stuff together and makes a decent video. Go watch those videos on YouTube. And thank you to Margaret. We forget to thank Margaret for doing all the social stuff that she does. And don't forget, mini turning set. Matt endorsed mini turning tool set. Go enter now, and we'll announce the winner, I think, next show.
Yeah.
I think.
Maybe.
Yeah,
or
next show.
or the next show after
Maybe.
that.
Maybe. You never know with this
I
show.
don't
You never know what's going to happen.
It's all new to me. I don't know. We'll figure it
Assuming you don't quit between now and when the show happens.
out. Which
you know,
could happen.
We're going
You
to
never
happen.
know.
To leave you hanging.
Which could happen.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Are we done now for real?
For realsies.